What's up, my comic comrades? Today we break down the entire Sabretooth War story that deals with Sabretooth enlisting and creating his own army of Sabretooths from different realities to do the one thing he's always wanted to do: give Wolverine the most painful, horrific death he can come up with. It's a really action-packed and gory story that has tons of death and surprises. So let's get into it to see if this will really be the final confrontation between Wolverine and his greatest enemy, Sabretooth. Alright, before jumping in, let's give you a little backstory for the event leading up to Sabretooth War. Wolverine 41 actually breaks this down perfectly after the first few pages of the book when it says, Part 1. Upon the founding of Krakoa, the island nation home for all mutant kind, Victor Creed aka Sabretooth was the first cast into the pit for breaking the foundational law of the land to kill no humans. For those of you who are unfamiliar with it, the pit is a prison for mutants in Krakoa, but it's been described closer to something like hell. Anyway, the issue goes on to say, but Krakoa is no more. Wolverine and the remnants of X-Force have taken refuge at a hidden base at the North Pole as they try to survive in a world that has outlawed mutants. Before the fall of their nation, Creed escaped. In his adventures, he had teamed up with a group of renegade alternate reality Sabretooths who he leads from his spacecraft stolen from Orchis. Sabretooth has got one thing in mind: revenge. So that's basically what's going down, but for all my fellow continuity junkies out there, this story takes place after X-Force issue 50, but before Fall of the House of X issue 1 and Rise of the Powers of X issue 1. That's something that Marvel also notes in the book. They do a really good job helping their readers, both old and new, know where their stories take place. Because even if you've been reading all these books, sometimes it's hard to place where things are in the timeline, so recaps like this are really helpful. Speaking of helpful, have you ever wanted to create a website for your comic book pitches, e-commerce business, or side hustle, but have no webmastery skills? Well, today's sponsor, Hostinger, has you covered. They make it easy to create a website without any experience. We've used their AI website builder to build a website from scratch in minutes and totally love how easy they make it to produce something high quality and professional. No coding skills or technical experience required. Their AI writer helps you compose the dreaded SEO friendly copy, and their AI heat map helps you predict visitor behavior. We also dig their 150 designer made customizable templates to find the look we were going after. You could also optimize campaigns with insights from Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, Facebook Pixel, and visitor remarketing. They have various plans, but I suggest the business plan as it includes all the AI tools you could dream of. For less than $3 a month, you could run a killer website, and that includes a free domain. Just head to hostinger.com/variant and use promo code VARIANT to get an exclusive 10% discount on all yearly plans. Click the link in the description for more. With that covered, let's dive into the actual Sabretooth War storyline. Marvel presents the story as the most violent Wolverine story ever told, with a parental advisory warning on the cover saying not for kids, and that's because it's a gore fest. And let's be honest, if you're gonna tell a true Sabretooth Wolverine story where they're going at it balls to the wall, that's how it needs to be. So issue 41 of the series opens up with Wolverine looking to sneak attack Sabretooth, saying to himself, the greatest weapon in a hunter's arsenal is patience, waiting for the right moment to serve the killing blow. When your prey is distracted, you strike. As we see Sabretooth eating Cyclops, we learn this is taking place on Orchis Station 5 under the command of Sabretooth. Sabretooth then says, guess he's Biclops now, as his head is split in half in a disgusting fashion. Right after, he turns around and catches Wolverine by the neck, who is sneak attacking him. Sabretooth then says, I'm impressed, you almost had me. Guess I'm the best there is. As we realize this is not actually Wolverine he caught, but rather Sabretooth of Earth 33441, aka Camo, because he's able to camouflage into anyone he wants. We then see several other Sabretooths from different Earths, like Cap, aka Sentinel of Tyranny, a Captain America Sabretooth hybrid, Savage, a female Sabretooth, and Pretty Boy, who is Beauty and Beast in one package. We then see 616 Sabretooth do his thing and make quick work of Camo. They discuss among themselves how they're ready to fight his dimension's mutants and that they're sick of waiting. Also, fret not, the Cyclops Sabretooth just killed is not the 616 version. At this point, Pretty Boy yells out, Creed, we're ready, but he responds, I'll tell you when we're ready. Until then, you just sit there and clean your paws. Only to say immediately after, everyone to their stations, we're riding out, let's get this party started. From here, we're taken to the North Pole, where we see Black Tom and Kid Omega currently defending a hidden base where now outlawed mutants are hiding from the world. Black Tom tells Kid Omega, here's a bit of bad news to start the day. Krakoa, mutants dancing across the sands. Not a safe place for them to be. I'll give Logan a ringy dingy, but Kid Omega basically says, don't worry, I'll go check it out. Elsewhere, we see Sabretooth headed to Earth with his army to kill all the mutants that wronged him, as he was the very first prisoner of Krakoa to be thrown into the pit, so now he needs revenge. And of course, most of all, he wants revenge on his arch nemesis, Wolverine. Anyway, once Sabretooth enters the Earth's atmosphere, he sees the Stark Sentinels guarding the island saying, this is not how the island looked when I was a prisoner in the pit. Let's take a closer look. He tells them to turn on the personal cloaking devices for the landing so they're invisible to the Sentinels. As he and his fellow Sabretooths look around, he sees that everything's been abandoned, saying people cleared out in a rush. Whatever happened here wasn't sweet. The mutants didn't just decide to leave, they fled. Camo says, someone's coming, a powerful mutant. Sabretooth replies, if we can't kill all the mutants, let's at least kill one. We see this powerful mutant is Kid Omega, who starts fighting the Stark Sentinels while he says, the cavalry is here, but they're using some kind of psionic scrambler. Can't think straight, these Stark Sentinels are an upgrade. But while he's fighting the Sentinels, he sees Wolverine on the beach saying, is that? It can't be. I told Tom I could handle this. But on the beach below, Wolverine yells, Kid, get out of here. But when Kid Omega lands, he realizes it's not actually Wolverine, but Camo in disguise. However, it's too late. Camo stabbed Kid Omega in the neck as he teleports the two of them back to Sabretooth's ship. Once back on the ship, we see the Sabretooths eat Kid Omega's body, with 616 Sabretooth saying, sweet moments like this make me happy we're a family. Now, if you're wondering what all those headless Sabretooths are in the background with robotic sensors where their heads should be, they're beheaded Sabretooth variants turned into robotic zombies created by Graydon Creed, the son of Sabretooth and Mystique. We were first introduced to them in Sabretooth the Exiles issue 5, but after 616 Sabretooth, Cap, Savage, and Pretty Boy got rid of Graydon Creed, Sabretooth took command of these headless robotic zombie Sabretooth variants he calls his Saber Teeth. Anyway, back at the North Pole, we see Wolverine meet up with his son Fang. They have a nice bonding moment before he asks if he could skin and butcher a caribou, and then circle back and bring it to the mess hall. As Wolverine walks inside the greenhouse, he says, we had more than a home in Krakoa. We had a nation, a family, both biological and chosen. Together we had a shot at, no other word for it, happiness. Maybe Sabretooth factored into that shot. Creed was thrown into the pit, my greatest enemy. For almost as far back as I can remember, at every point, that bastard Sabretooth was a part of the worst of it. For once in my life, I didn't have that constant creeping dread that Creed was just over my shoulder, ready to wreak havoc. That all came crashing down when Orchis attacked the Hellfire Gala, and most of mutant kind ended up dead or exiled. This North Pole base, the greenhouse, is what remains. I'm doing the best I can to protect it. Wolverine asks Sage how Quentin or Kid Omega is doing. She says she hasn't heard back from him yet, but that's not uncommon for him. Outside the greenhouse, we see Sabretooth and his Sabreteeth arrive and use some sort of device to blast a pink energy beam towards the greenhouse, which sets off Black Tom and Sage's senses. Meanwhile, inside the greenhouse, we see Laura, Wolverine's daughter, and Domino going over plans to wipe out Orchis. Wolverine then walks in with Laura saying, something wrong? What's eating you? He tells her, when I left X-Force, I know you probably didn't want the job because of me, but you did it anyway, and you saved a lot of asses. If something happens to me, it's gotta be you, Laura. It's gotta be you who doesn't just take my place, but does better than I ever could have. She tells him, you're being weird, but hold on, I got you something. As she grabs a present she got him for his birthday, but when she turns around, he's gone, because Wolverine sensed something that he had to go check out. And Wolverine's senses were correct because we see Fang has come face to face with Sabretooth and his army. They circle Fang saying, it's midnight, you know what that means. I'm here to give the runt a gift he'll never forget. Midnight means it's officially Wolverine's birthday, and that gift to Wolverine is the gift of death to his loved ones. By the time Wolverine makes it out, he sees that Sabretooth killed his son and another mutant, spelling happy birthday with the limbs and body parts of his son and another mutant, as Wolverine drops to his knees in horror. This is exactly why this story has a parental advisory. It's not holding back any punches, and I love it. But that's just issue 1. Let's continue with issue 42. The issue starts off with Wolverine in rage, wanting nothing more than to kill Sabretooth, as he sets out to do just that, slashing through multiple Sabreteeth, trying to get to 616 Sabretooth. As Wolverine is trying to make his way to 616 Sabretooth, Sabretooth says, I made a promise. Before you all toss me in that pit, a promise of pain. I'm here to make good on that promise. The pain you're feeling is just gonna get worse when you realize you can't do nothing about it. When you realize you can't stop us from killing every last one of the team held up inside your little snow fort. We then see Wolverine scream, I'll kill you, kill all of you. Sabretooth tells Wolverine, been busy since we last saw each other, destroying worlds, killed me a whole lot of weak-ass Wolverines and enlisted me an army, a Sabretooth army. Collected some things along the way. In one world, your old buddy Omega Red was sporting some adamantium tentacles. How about we use them to string the runt up? Pretty Boy then jumps in saying, Sabretooth, no, just kill him, finish him now. But Sabretooth says, the runt's gonna live a while longer, nobody knows we're here, so swarm in and we kill them all. I want the runt to hear the screams of the dying. I want him to smell the torn livers and bloody entrails of his friends. I want to break him. Meanwhile, inside the greenhouse, Domino tells Laura, I can't believe you wrapped Wolverine a gift. How old is Logan anyway? Laura replies, is really old a number? They continue to look at Stark's Sentinel blueprints, seeing how they can take them down as Wolverine walks in, only for Laura to smell him saying, who the hell are you? He replies, I can be anyone you want me to be. Whose face do you want to look at as you die? As once again, we see it's Camo in disguise. She starts fighting him saying, you're Creed, but you're not Creed, as as she slashes into him with him saying, "I'm one of many." She replies, "How many?" He tells her, "So many," as Pretty Boy and Savage join the fight. Elsewhere, the Sabretooth start attacking Black Tom and Sage. Simultaneously, in Colossus's room, he's attacked in his sleep by Cap and some Sabretooth. We then see Wolverine strung up by Omega Red's tentacles, hanging there defeated, saying he's failed Quentin. He's failed Fang, as we see Sabretooth and his army run rampant in the greenhouse, slaughtering mutants left and right. He goes to kill a little girl, but Aurora and Northstar save her and another little kid. They quickly make their way to Sage and Black Tom, who are about to be killed by some Sabretooth, saving them by making quick work of said Sabretooth. Back to Wolverine, who's still strung up. He thinks to himself, "I could hear bones breaking and lungs choking on blood. I could smell the coppery stink of the slaughter, but I could feel it too. I could feel it like a sickness." Finally pissed off, he tells himself, "My bones might be sleeved with adamantium, but my joints are made of meat, and meat shreds." As he uses his claws to cut himself free by cutting off his hands and feet by his wrists and ankles, as like he said, they're made of meat. It's insanely gnarly, and now he has claws coming out of his forearms and stumps for feet. It's a bloody mess. Back inside, Laura is still fighting Camo, Savage, and Pretty Boy, but with the assistance of Domino shooting Savage in the head, she's able to kill Pretty Boy by stabbing him in the head like he's a shish kebab, then using her other claw to chop off his head. Right after this, we see Aurora and Northstar break Savage and Black Tom from a trance they've been put in. Then Sage tells Black Tom to use his powers of controlling wood or plant life to treat the Sabretooth like a virus. The body of the greenhouse needs to destroy and expel Sabretooth like a swarm of white blood cells, as we see branches all over the greenhouse start to do exactly that. We even see handless and footless Wolverine walking on his stumps, telling the Sabretooth, "I got no words for you, just blood." But the branches take them away before he could start slashing. He then makes his way to Laura, saying, "Please don't let it be too late. Laura, Laura," as he sees the birthday present she made for him on top of the desk, covered in blood, with Laura nowhere to be found and Domino knocked out on the floor. And that brings issue 42 to an end. Issue 43 starts off in the past when Logan and Victor were still working together as part of Team X. With Victor or Sabretooth saying, "People talk about the good old days. Nostalgia is one hell of a drug. I'm immune to every narcotic there is, except maybe that one. Nicaragua. Years back, just another routine team delivery." That's what it was supposed to be, but I could still smell all the spilled blood and nitroglycerin. Good times. We are then taken back to the present, where we see Sabretooth in his station over the Arctic. We see both Savage and Camo pissed off at Sabretooth, with Savage saying, "Pretty Boy's dead, Cap's dead, and for what?" Camo says, "I let you lead us because this is your world, and you seem to have a plan, but all you've done is lead us off a cliff." "You let me lead," Victor says. "The day you beat me is the day you give orders." As the two fight in a prison, Laura is watching on in a windowed cage above them. The comic then takes us back to the past, as we see Victor continuing to reminisce about the good old days, as he puts it, remembering working with Logan in Miami. We are then taken back to Victor in Station 5 present day, where he goes up to the mysterious box he used in issue 1 to blast towards the greenhouse. He starts talking to the box saying, "Give me a sit rep on Tiny Dancer," referring to Wolverine. The box then projects an image of Wolverine, with Sabretooth saying, "Poor thing, he's not taking it too well, is he?" The box answers him saying, "You mean killing his son and beheading me? I'm sorry, I don't understand what's happened to me." Sabretooth replies, "Technically speaking, you're dead, but Orcus was experimenting with ways to use mutant components. It's sick stuff. I love it. Imagine going to war with Cyclops' head mounted on your tank. Unleash those eye blasts with a push of a button," as we see it's Quentin, aka Kid Omega's head, in the box. So because of everything Sabretooth just said, he's able to use Kid Omega's head to access all his abilities as he sees fit. We then see while Quentin is sleeping, he subconsciously sends out a message to Oya, who's on a battleship named the Maroon, home base of the Exiles somewhere in the Caribbean Sea. He sends her a vision of when he was being eaten by Sabretooth. She then pops out of bed saying, "Quentin, ship, where's Third Eye?" The ship tells her Third Eye is in the cipher. We see Third Eye training several of the Exiles or mutants on the ship. Third Eye uses his powers to see what's going on with Oya, and he tells her, "Your mind sounds like a mosh pit. He must be a powerful telepath. I could see his energies around you." She asks him, "Is he alright?" The dream made it seem like he tells her, "Your friend is dead, but somehow part of him still lingers. That's what reached out to you." They then tell Necra about this, as Oya wants to help him. Necra is a mutant exile who can change her angry emotions into super strength. After Oya and Third Eye express that they want to help Kid Omega, Necra basically says, "We're finally doing good here on the Maroon, doing what Krakoa failed to pull off. No prisons, no mutant condemned. We're training them upright. Even when it's hard, we work it out together. That's what the Exiles do." Oya says, "Quentin was a mutant. More than that, he was my friend. Who knows how many other mutants Sabretooth is going to hurt." Back on Station 5, we see Savage helping up Camo after his fight with Sabretooth. Laura looks on saying, "So are you two clones? No shame in that. I used to think I was a clone." Savage replies, "Nobody asked for your life story." Lauren tells her, "Different dimensions. That's it, right? Were you the beta in your home dimension too?" This clearly pisses pisses both of them off, with Savage saying, "Give her the gas, then bring her down." Once she lowers the prison, Savage goes inside and says, "This will take a little longer to heal," as she slashes off her jaw, ripping out her tongue, saying, "Cat got your tongue?" It's insanely gory. You literally see her jaw on the floor while Savage is holding her tongue. I've got to say, I'm digging this R rating. It allows them to not hold back and see what villains would actually do. Savage then says, "Okay, put her back up. I couldn't listen to her any longer, but she's right. You and I are playing low status, and I'm sick of it." Camo asks, "You got something in mind?" with Savage replying, "All us Sabretooths were hunted across dimensions, captured, many killed and tortured into these headless drones, all by one man who holds a real grudge against our dear leader." Camo replies, "Graydon Creed? His son. But we ejected him into another dimension." We saw this go down in Sabretooth in the Exiles issue 5. Savage then says, "Let's find a way to track him, bring our nephew back for a family reunion. He was highly effective." Camo tells her, "Graydon wants to kill all of us. He's like a bomb that could go off without warning." Savage tells him, "We just have to plan it right. Then don't stick around for when it explodes. Now let's keep this between us." So it looks like the Sabretooth variants are turning on the OG Sabretooth, but back on the Exiles battleship, Necra says, "Doug Ramsey gave this killing seed to me when he escaped the pit. When we fled Krakoa, he told me to use it on Sabretooth when we had a chance. I hesitated before because I didn't know what it would do, but I don't care anymore. He's got an army, we got a team." The Exiles are going to war, so it looks like Necra and the rest of the Exiles were convinced to go help what's left of Kid Omega. The book then takes us back into Sabretooth's mind, where he's still reminiscing of when him and Logan worked together as a team, saying, "War's truth, war's love. I was truly myself back then, and so was he. Everyone else might buy his warrior routine, but if that's what he wants to be, why is he so damn sad all the time? It's because he misses what we used to be, together." Sabretooth then sits up from his bed as he says, "It's like he's talking in his sleep. Didn't know the dead could dream. Sounds like he's trying to keep a secret, but what?" Referring to Quentin's head, as Quentin's head projects Wolverine and then a map as he's talking in his sleep, saying this would cook Logan's goose for sure. Quiet now. It's not his fault he didn't save us. No snitching. As Sabretooth says, "Looks like we're going on a treasure hunt," and that's where issue 43 ends, so let's move on to issue 44. Issue 44 picks up with the remaining mutants alive at the greenhouse doing damage control. Wolverine is laying in the medical bay as Aurora and Northstar Frankenstein his hands and feet back on. They're sewing them back on while Wolverine says, "It doesn't have to be pretty. My healing factor will take care of the rest." They even show Aurora pop his hand back on and give us close-ups of her using her super speed to stitch it back on. Once his hands and feet are sewn back on, Colossus and Domino come in telling Wolverine, "I hope you could run, because we've got a runner." We then see Cap of Arian to Sabretooth running away from the greenhouse saying, "They left me, abandoned me, in this wasteland." Wolverine heals quickly and starts skiing towards him, with Domino and Colossus finding a bloody animal carcass as we see Cap ambush Domino, smashing her face into the snow. He then takes her gun and starts shooting at Wolverine, but Colossus uses himself as a shield, asking Wolverine, "Fastball?" Wolverine says, "Fastball." At which point Colossus throws Wolverine straight into Cap, with Wolverine's claws going right through his chest. Wolverine says, "Now you pay for what you did," as he continues to hack him into a pulp, but Colossus pulls him off, saying, "No, if you're going to stop Sabretooth's army, we need a soldier to interrogate." So they take him back to the greenhouse and restrain him as Sage tries to use her telepathy to get information from him. But for whatever reason, her telepathy isn't able to get through. She then tells Cap, "If this keeps up, I'm not going to be able to hold him back. Do you want to live? Talk." Clearly, she's talking about holding Wolverine back because all he wants to do is kill him. At this point, Phoebe Cuckoo walks in and gives her telepathic powers a try. Meanwhile, Wolverine reminisces about his past with Sabretooth, saying, "He's ripped up my brain. He's ripped up my skin. He's ripped up my friends and family, my soul as far back as I can remember. But then again, I've done plenty of damage to him on my own. And as a part of Krakoa, given all the mind wipes and mind plants I've suffered, it's hard to keep score on who's hurt worse in this cycle of violence that's been roaring all through the years. That doesn't excuse a single thing he's done, but it might damn me. Because if I caused him to seek revenge, then that means I caused this." As he opens up the birthday present Laura got him, which we see is a mug that says, "World's Best Dad," and a note from her that reads, "Overstatement of the century? Maybe, but we see that you're trying, and that means something. Happy birthday, XOX23. Laura, aka the best Wolverine." We then head back to Cap and see that Phoebe was able to break through his mind with her telepathy, saying, "Creed recruited him. He's been recruiting them all from across dimensions, building an army in his likeness. You imprisoned him and the other exiles, condemning them as worse than or less than and other than the rest of you. You pretended you were pure and noble and good, the moral high ground, but in the shadows, you did your own killing. Dark deeds in the name of nationhood." Captain says, "Your punishment has just begun." At this point, Phoebe gets trapped in some kind of psychic malware to the point that Domino has to shoot Cap in the head to save her. We then find out that Phoebe got caught in Cap's mind because Quentin was forced to hurt her with his powers, and as we know, he's one of the strongest telepaths. Phoebe then hears Quentin say, "I'm sorry, he made me do it. Phoebe, I'm here. I'm right here. Send help. Send Wolverine." At which point Wolverine gets in a jet, but Sage says, "Wolverine, no, we don't know if what she saw is even true." But he doesn't care and goes anyway, saying, "Nobody else gets hurt. I'm going alone." And that brings issue 44 to an end. So let's jump right into issue 45 because things are just getting started. But let me take a second to say the story's been really good thus far, right? I love how violent it is, but what does that say about me? Issue 45 opens up at the island of Krakoa, where we see it's being guarded by Stark Sentinels, but Sabretooth makes his way past them, saying luckily this is an Orcus ship. Allows us to use their own tech to travel cloaked right by them. I need something these mutants left behind on Krakoa. Once on the island, Sabretooth forces Quentin to show him where the thing is that will cook Logan's goose, as he put it in issue 43. Quentin then uses his abilities to open up the side of the mountain, with Sabretooth saying, "Would you look at that?" Quentin asks, "You didn't tell the others what we're searching for." Sabretooth tells him, "They only need to know who to attack when I give the order." As they walk inside the mountain, they come upon a bunch of rocks, and Sabretooth says, "Move the rocks." Quentin says, "What if I don't want to?" Sabretooth tells him, "As long as I got your head in here, you don't have a choice," as he pulls up a screen on the box that forces Quentin to do exactly what he says. Quentin says, "Okay, I get it, you're the boss." Meanwhile, back on Station 5, we see Savage and Camo. Camo gears up to go through a portal to get Graydon to help take out Sabretooth, as they're not liking the way Sabretooth is doing things. As Camo is ready to go through, Savage says, "We've already lost 2 of our own. If we're going to take down Victor, we need reinforcements. We need to find the only person who hates Victor Creed more than us. His son definitely qualifies." We are then brought to the Maroon, the home base of the Exiles, and see that they're headed towards Krakoa to try to save Quentin. The problem is, once they get close enough, they realize the island is being surrounded by Stark Sentinels. The ship even tells them they are formidable. Nekra asks, how did Sabretooth get past them? The ship tells her his ship is cloaked. She asks, can we do that? The ship responds, not in a way that would escape their detection. In fact, I'm sorry to report, we've already been detected. Nekra asks, can we fight them? The ship tells them a battle with them would last approximately a picosecond. That's a trillionth of a second, as we see a Stark Sentinel going right for them. We are then brought back to Sabretooth and Quentin, and we see the place Sabretooth wants to go is Forge's lab. But it's in ruins, and Sabretooth says, looks like MacGyver fried his lab before he fled. He puts Quentin's face up to his, saying, you leading me on a wild hunt? Do I need to spend the next 5 days frying your brain for fun? Quentin tells him, I didn't lie, you just have to be more thoughtful. I imagine that's not your natural impulse. Sabretooth replies, careful now. As they keep walking through Forge's lab, Sabretooth encounters one of Forge's sentinels that guard his lab. Sabretooth asks, you detected it was here, right? And you didn't warn me? Quentin replies, who, me? Now why would I do that? As he smiles. But unfortunately, Sabretooth makes quick work of the sentinel and then electrocutes Quentin for not warning him. And while Sabretooth is doing this, he says, the rest of the lab is empty. You showed me a working lab. This is not that place. Quentin makes an arrow with his powers pointing down, saying, it's here, but I was wrong about the location. Not here on Krakoa, it's under Krakoa. Then back at Station 5, we see Camo come out of his portal saying, I got him. Savage says, took you long enough, with Camo replying, at least I think that's him. What's happened to his face? We are then taken back to the Exiles, who are preparing for the incoming attack of the Stark Sentinel. Knowing they can't win, Nekra has a plan, saying those Stark Sentinels were stationed around Krakoa. Someone wanted them to guard it. I'm hoping that means they're on a leash. That there's only so far from the island they're allowed to stray. So they fly the ship into space, and Nekra is right. The Stark Sentinel had to turn around. It wasn't allowed to stray too far from the island. Meanwhile, we see Logan coming up on Krakoa. He says to himself, place is under heavy guard, but there's one bit of the island missing a sentry. Maybe they won't notice me, but of course, they do notice. So he ejects onto the island and starts running for his life, just barely able to get underground before the Stark Sentinels take him out. Getting back to Sabretooth and Quentin, we see Sabretooth found the hatch, saying, this must be what the sentry was guarding. Maybe this is how we get down there. Quentin says, but there are more Forge's sentries down there, more than you could handle alone. Sabretooth says, the runt's here, as he can smell him. Quentin tells him he's out for your blood. He's about to go full-on berserker mode. Sabretooth responds, that right. And once Wolverine arrives, he forces Quentin to make Wolverine believe he's back in the past during his Team X days, working with Sabretooth once again. Sabretooth says, about time, we're on a mission, and there's no time to waste. So that's pretty crazy. Quentin casts an illusion on Wolverine so he thinks he's back in the past working with Sabretooth, but that brings an end to issue 45. Now we move on to issue 46. 46. The issue starts off with Sabretooth telling Wolverine, "You ready, Runt? We got work together." This mission is critical, but as we know, Wolverine is in a trance by Quentin to make him believe he's back in Team X-Days working with Sabretooth. Sabretooth then shows him what their mission is and what they're after. It's really cool as we see what's happening in reality and what's happening in Wolverine's head at the same time. They make their way to Fine Forge's arsenal, and Quentin says, "I'm sensing that you're actually kind of sort of enjoying this in a nostalgic way." Sabretooth answers, "Shut up, Pink." Quentin tells him, "Making me project you guys Team X glory days can't be an accident. You actually liked working with him back then. Were you friends?" Sabretooth says, "I said shut up." But as they get closer to their target, missiles start going off. We are then taken back to the Exiles, who are still trying to figure out a way onto the island. Necra tells the ship, "I would like you to unload your heaviest artillery on the Sentinels." The ship says, "It won't make a difference. There's a 0 chance we're getting past those Stark Sentinels." She says, "Just do as I say." The ship tells her, "Necra, this is pointless," but she replies, "Rolling over and giving up is pointless. What's the harm in trying?" So she tells the ship to dive, and as it goes in the water, Oya gets a vision of where Sabretooth, Wolverine, and Quentin are, and she tells the ship, "Go down, as deep as you can. Out of the Sentinel's perimeter. There's a trench waiting for us, and Sabretooth is down there." After this, we see Sabretooth and Wolverine make their way into the Arsenal Vault, as more Forge Sentinels activate, attacking them. Elsewhere, the Exiles are suiting up in scuba gear to follow Oya's vision. Necra is skeptical, but Oya tells her, "Like you said earlier, before you nearly got us killed, what's the harm in trying?" We are then taken to Orcus Station 5, the Sabretooth home base, where one of the Sabreteeth brings Laura food, but she just slashes into him with her claws before 2 more come in to restrain her, but it was all part of her plan. She just wanted to take the disc controller that's placed where their heads used to be, as the other 2 Sabretooth take her food for acting bad and walk out. Returning to Sabretooth and Wolverine, they're still getting attacked, with Sabretooth almost getting killed by one, but Wolverine uses his claws to slash the beast, setting him free, saying, "Don't bother thanking me, we've got each other's backs." Quentin speaks up saying, "Aw, he saved you. Don't you think it's sad that you went through the same blenders, but Logan's good in the special anti-hero way? Whereas you turned out to be such a rotten, evil, hateful pile of maggots." At this point, Sabretooth sees a gun he's looking for, but a voice says, "Hey boss," as a tongue snatches it, with us seeing it's Toad and the Exiles arriving. But Sabretooth gets up and says, "You all thought you could hurt me?" as he rips Toad's arm off, taking the gun with it. Wolverine, in a trance, thinking the Exiles are enemy soldiers, starts attacking them, helping Sabretooth. At this point, Quentin has had enough, and he says, "Logan, now is your chance. Come back to me. Come back to us." Breaking the trance he put him in, Wolverine then looks at the blood on his claws, saying, "What have I done?" Sabretooth tells him, "You got me in here, and you got me Forge's depowering gun. And now, at long last, you're gonna get dead and stay that way." As he shoots Wolverine with him saying, "No more healing factor, Runt. You know what that means. You're about to be nothing but a bad memory," as he charges Wolverine, and with that, the issue ends. Issue 47 opens up on Orcus Station 5, which is cloaked in orbit over Krakoa. On the ship, we see Laura looking at the security details saying, "Come on, come on," as we see why she wanted one of the Sabreteeth's collar, and that's to break herself out, as it has a sensor on it that lets her open the door to make a run for it, making her way into a crawl space. A bunch of the Sabreteeth start chasing her as she says to herself, "If I kill a couple, the shaft will be jammed for the rest of them to get through. Buy me some time, so let's kill a couple," as she uses her foot claw to do exactly that. Then deep under Krakoa, we see Wolverine get up after being shot and depowered by Sabretooth, saying, "You talk too much." Wolverine then starts slashing into Sabretooth as captions from Sabretooth say, "How many times do I get to enjoy this dance? Never met anyone who's pushed me like the little guy. Now that I've hit him with the depowering gun, this might be the last. I want him dead, and I never want this fun to end. Wolverine, can't live with him, can't live without him." Followed by Wolverine stabbing him right through the back. We are then taken back to the Exiles with 2 of them now dead, Melter and Toad. Necra says it was both of them who did this, Sabretooth and Wolverine. Let's plant this at both their feet and be done with it, referring to the death seed she has. Oya says, "Hold on a second, Necra. Logan was under Sabretooth's control. He never would have killed Melter otherwise. Never." Necra tells her, "I don't care. I've been holding on to this seed since Doug sent us after Creed." We then get a flashback of her getting the seed from Doug, saying, "You're sending us to assassinate him?" He replies, "No, that seed won't kill him. He'll wish that's all it did." And with that, Necra goes to finish it. We are then taken to Sabretooth and Wolverine's fight, with Sabretooth saying, "You ain't beating me, Pipsqueak. I got another card up my sleeve. Headcase, you're up," referring to Quentin. We see Quentin use his powers to talk to Phoebe, and she says, "Where is the rest of you?" He tells her this is all that's left. She tells him, "Wolverine went after you, took off in a hurry." He replies, "Yeah, I know, but it's not going well." Sabretooth is about to kill Logan. One shot, brain death. Phoebe tells him, "He can't make you do anything, Quentin." He responds, "You're wrong. He can. He's got what's left of me hooked up into a controller." Orcus Tech. She grabs his face lovingly, saying, "Keep your mind open to me. That's how I will track you. Wherever you are, that's where we will follow. Try to resist. He then says, "Too late, I'm sorry," as he shoots Logan with a massive gun he created. Sabretooth then comes over to Logan saying, "I could smell you. You ain't dead. Hear your shallow little breath. Putting you down like this was not what I had in mind. I wanted you kicking and screaming. I wanted you raw and rough." But Necra then arrives saying, "I've got something for you, Creed. Hate." As she punches him across the face, she says, "When you took down Melter and Toad, I lost a step because I cared about them. I was too busy feeling worried for them. My hate was diluted by my worry." She then looks at Quentin and says, "You look like you don't want to keep serving Sabretooth." Quentin, with tears rolling down his face, says, "It doesn't matter what happens to me. He already made me do the worst," as he creates a massive energy claw to stab Sabretooth right through the torso. Sabretooth tells him, "Kid, I'm going to melt you down like scrap metal as soon as I get up." Necra then throws the death seed underneath him saying, "Then let's make sure you never do," as a giant alien Venus flytrap looking thing grows out of the ground and eats him, trapping him inside. Necra then asks Quentin, "Are you coming with us?" He replies, "No, I have a team. They'll come looking for me." Forge's lab holds so many secrets, some that destroy, but maybe some that restore. Besides, I want to stay a while and enjoy the show. We are taken back to Camo and Savage telling Graydon, "Get to your feet." He replies, "It's been so long, I don't recognize that name. I had to repurpose my suit in order to survive. I had to become someone new, something new." Sage asks, "What do we call you?" He tells her, "I'm a child of Sabretooth and Mystique. What else could I turn out to be? I'm the bad seed." So essentially, after the events of Sabretooth and the Exiles, when they threw him into a portal, he had to reconstruct himself, taking on a new look and persona called Bad Seed. Camo says, "We sought you out because we have a common enemy. But first, we have to know if you could be trusted to do the job." Bad Seed says, "First chance I get, I will cut each of you down." Savage responds, "Now that sounds like Creed," with Camo adding, "It'll have to do." Bad Seed then says, "I brought so many of your brothers and sisters through this doorway. As soon as most stepped through, I put them down. I severed their heads and turned them into something more useful, my army." Savage and Camo tell him, "We remember." Bad Seed then tells them, "And what have you done with my toys?" Wait, yes, I can feel them. Though not as many as when I was exiled, I re-established my link with the ones closest to me. I'll need to reach the control room to take over the rest. At this point, Savage gets word that Laura has broken free, which ultimately leads to a confrontation between the two of them as Savage tracks Laura down on the ship, with Laura stabbing Savage in the chest, ripping her in half, and cutting her heart out, at which point she throws Savage's heart at a transmitter to turn it off. Yeah, this was a gory page. We see Laura chop off Savage's hand, rip her in half, stab her in the chest, and then rip out her heart to use it as a baseball. Elsewhere, we see the Exiles with Wolverine saying, "Ship, we need an extraction." But back to Laura, we see her standing over Savage's body parts as that's all that's left. Laura says, "Threat's over for now. Calm down. What's next? Send a signal to X-Force so they can find me. And then we could find the old man." But as she says this to herself, Bad Seed and some Sabretooth come walking through the door telling her, "You called for backup? Oh good, that's exactly what I want." Back aboard the Exile ship, we see they have Wolverine healing in a medical bay. He tells Oya, "There's more Sabretooth out there. I can't leave them to hurt other people." She says, "You can't go back out like this. You've got no powers." He says, "You're right. I can't go like this. I'm gonna need a suit and a weapon," as the issue ends, which leads into issue 48. Issue 48 opens up with Wolverine saying, "Ever since Sabretooth attacked the greenhouse, ever since he killed Fang and Quentin, and so many others, I've been seeing red." Sabretooth is simultaneously saying while trapped in the Venus flytrap from hell, "Ever since I escaped the pit, ever since I started building my army, everything's been coming up roses." As Wolverine is healing in bed, he's thinking to himself, "I've done more than 100 years of living. I've been a witness and a participant in a whole hell of a lot of suffering. But there's been more than plenty of good too. Sometimes I forget about that. It's important I don't. The good and beautiful should be the reason I'm fighting, more than the bad and ugly." Simultaneously, Sabretooth is thinking to himself, "I've been killing it. I've been winning this game of blood sport, but now everything's gone dark, and I'm a prisoner, a victim again. Story of my life. Everything good turns to crap. Every day comes with a trapdoor into the alligator pit, and I'm sick to death of it." Wolverine then wakes up saying to Oya, "Before, I knew there was something worth killing for, but now I remember there's something worth fighting for." As we see Sabretooth stuck in that trap saying, "I had that run in a trap, and now I'm caught in one. I started this war off with an army, and now I'm alone." Elsewhere, we see Laura tell Bad Seed they're coming. X-Force is coming. I hailed them on the station comm. He asks her, "What makes you think you'll live long enough to be rescued?" She says, "I disabled your cloaking mechanism. You're seconds away from being attacked by Stark Sentinels. Figured I'd even out the odds." As she jumps out of the ship while Bad Seed is being attacked by several Stark Sentinels. We are then taken back to Wolverine once again, who gets bandaged up. We see the ship is taking them somewhere Logan told them to go to get a suit and a weapon he needs. He tells Necra and the rest of the Exiles exiles, you're welcome to go your own way, but I could sure use your help. And I think you could use mine. Creed might be off the table, but we've got a whole army of Sabretooth yet to take down. At this point, Third Eye gets a vision as his nose starts bleeding, saying, Victor might be gone, but something worse has replaced him. Bad Seed. As we see Bad Seed start attacking the Stark Sentinels that are coming for him. He literally jumps out of the ship and lands on one, ripping circuits out of one of its heads, saying nothing here on Earth might be able to beat the Sentinels, but I ain't from here anymore. Some extra dimensional tech should do the trick. We see that Bad Seed is able to reprogram one of the Stark Sentinels and pilot it from inside one of its heads like he's a Power Ranger inside of a Megazord. Now controlling one of the Stark Sentinels, he says, mastering Orchis tech is about as hard as learning the alphabet song. The mutants thought Victor Creed was the king of hell. Wait until they get a load of me. Back on the island, we see Laura still healing from her fall, jumping out of the ship to get away from Bad Seed, looking up at the Sentinels fighting each other, saying, are we screwed? We might be screwed. Meanwhile, Logan and the Exiles go to a secret vault hidden somewhere in the North Pole, and Logan says, I've never been able to believe in a good thing. Krakoa was a good thing, so I asked Forge to build me something. Something that anticipated a day like this would come. A moment when all was lost, including my powers. Speaking of the North Pole, we're then taken to Greenhouse where we see Sage, Black Tom, Colossus, Omega Red, and more. Sage says the Sabretooth, they're at Krakoa. X-Force, suit up. But with no Blackbird to get there, Sage tells Black Tom, you know what you need to do. Tom then creates a plane out of vegetation. Elsewhere, we see Quentin tell Phoebe, you need to hurry. I could sense the firefight above the island is going the wrong way. I could sense that Laura is in grave danger, and that's not our only problem. As we see Sabretooth's hand break free from the Death Seed prison he was put in. But back at Wolverine's secret bunker, we see him walk out in armor made of adamantium and a Muramasa blade named after the famous swordsmith, telling the Exiles, I'm still hard to kill. Let's go find a fight. How crazy is that? Wolverine now has adamantium armor. This is going to get nuts, so let's jump into issue 49. Issue 49 opens up with Sabretooth reminiscing how he got here, saying at first he was winning, then once Quentin and the albino broad, as he put it, came into the picture, he's losing, as now he's trapped in some sort of prison because of the Death Seed. We then see him inside what looks like an Iron Maiden that's sitting inside of a therapist's office, as he says he was not expecting this. He then sees Doug Ramsey walk in, but it's not really Ramsey, it's a vision or thought within the Death Seed that has been programmed with Ramsey's most vital qualities, and this Ramsey starts to have a therapy session with Sabretooth. He puts Sabretooth inside of the bodies of his victims over the years like Silver Fox, so he could see what it feels like to be on the other side of his attacks. Then back at Krakoa, we see Camo ask Bad Seed, who's still in command of one of the Stark Sentinels, are you hurt? Bad Seed, can you hear me out there? Bad Seed replies, I hear the panic in your voice and it sickens me. Camo asks, is that all of them? More are approaching. Camo then says, looks like you and me are the last ones standing. Bad Seed tells him, are you sure about that? My father remains unaccounted for. Camo tells him, your dad couldn't let go of his obsession with Wolverine, and you can't let go of your obsession with him. This pisses off Bad Seed, and he says, Victor Creed abandoned me. Then he tried to kill me, his own son, with Camo telling him, but you're a grown man now. Are you ever going to act like one? He replies, where's the fun in that? Come to think of it, you're just another version of him from another dimension. As he blasts the ship Camo was in, saying, good night, uncle. Camo's last words are, we were never a family. We all just share the same bad blood. Which is kind of profound, as he's implying family is more than just blood. Anyway, after he kills his uncle, Bad Seed tells himself, I can't beat all the Sentinels. I feel this one security protocol is working to override my control. So let me put this shell to good use one last time. I'll shape a shield for myself. I'll survive this, but you won't. As he self-detonates the Sentinel to kill all the Sentinels around him. From the island, Laura looks up saying, damn, let me duck and cover before I get skewered. But as she looks up, she sees X-Force has arrived for her. Then back to Sabretooth, who is still trapped in the Death Seed. Ramsey is still trying to do his therapy on him, telling Sabretooth, who is currently inside a past victim, this seed can only access the memories you hold on to. They aren't happy memories, so maybe you hold on to them for another reason. Maybe you feel guilty as Sabretooth reminisces on some of the most horrific things he's done, like killing several children in an alley. Ramsey then continues saying to Sabretooth, who is lying on a couch as one does in therapy, here's what I believe, Victor. No, what I know. All of us have the capacity to be good. In fact, you were good. For a while, you were a hero. Do you remember? Sabretooth answers, I'm starting to get it now. You didn't see this seed, this trap as a punishment. He replies, no, Victor. I hope that if you experience what you've done to your victims, if you lived in their skin, it would free the best part of you. You wouldn't have done these things if you knew what you were putting others through. Sabretooth slowly looks at Ramsey saying, sorry, but do you know who I am? We are then taken to Wolverine and the Exiles, who arrive at Krakoa. Wolverine tells them, this "This ain't your fight. I gotta do this by myself," as he jumps off their ship, thanking them for the ride, looking badass in his adamantium armor. But guess who's waiting for him down below? Bad Seed, who says, "Come down here, mutant. Let me show you what I could do." The book then takes us back to Sabretooth, who says to Ramsey, "You got such a big heart, but I can't say much for your brain." Ramsey says, "Haven't you been listening to me? Hasn't any of this sunk in?" Sabretooth gets up saying, "You got that big heart, so you assume we all do. Can't imagine there's people in the world who are just built different. You think every wounded child just needs a hug and a cookie. That'll make them fit in. I didn't hold on to those memories because I feel guilty. I hold on to them because they make me proud. You're making me relive them has the opposite effect. It didn't make me sad, it's got my blood flowing. I'm feeling vigorous." As he says, time to unleash hell. With the issue ending on Bad Seed and Wolverine fighting on the shore as X-Force arrives right behind him. And that is the end of issue 49, but let's see how this wraps up in issue 50. Alright, the issue picks up exactly where the last issue left off. Wolverine fighting Sabretooth's son, Bad Seed. Wolverine tells them, "Listen, Graydon, you don't have to be like your father. You don't have to choose hate." He replies, "Look at you playing good daddy. How much of your own kids' lives did you miss?" Wolverine answers, "You're right, way too much. But as long as you're alive, you can change." Bad Seed then uses his powers to rebuild Sentinels, sending them after the Exiles and the X-Force. Necra of the Exiles says, "No time to run from the Frankenstein Sentinel things. We'll have to fight," with Oya saying, "They seem half dead already, Necra. Maybe that'll make it easier." Third Eye speaks up, "I have faced plenty of half-dead things. They do not go down easy." On a different part of the island, we see X-Force dealing with Sentinels saying, "The quicker we deal with the Sentinels, the quicker we can help Logan." We are then taken back to Wolverine, who's charging Bad Seed while saying, "Have it your way, kid, but it won't make me happy taking you down." But before Wolverine can land a hit on Bad Seed, Sabretooth comes jumping out of the water behind them, putting his fist right through the back of his son, telling Wolverine, "You sound like a real bleeding heart." Bad Seed, with his last breath, says, "There's no justice in this world," as his own father, Sabretooth, looks down at him saying, "See that, kid? Your daddy did teach you a little something after all." Wolverine swings his sword at Sabretooth saying, "That was your son. All these decades I've known you. Can't you care about anyone?" Sabretooth answers with, "Special swords, special armor, but you've got no powers, little man." Wolverine tells him, "Don't need my powers to put you down. You'll be joining your boy in the land of the dead, where you belong, Sabretooth." We then continue to see the Exiles and X-Force fight the Sentinels. Colossus even asks Sage, "Is this a fight that we can even win?" She replies, "Under normal circumstances, my calculations say no, but their tech and armor are deeply compromised, and whatever power source lit them back up, they seem to be charged by chaos. We've got a chance if we do what we always do, be meaner and crazier than anybody else." Meanwhile, Quentin is asking if anyone could hear him saying, "I'm not gone. I'm down here. I'm alone." Then back to Wolverine and Sabretooth fighting, we see some kind of power source charging up at 94%. We actually saw this earlier when Wolverine first charged Sabretooth with it saying 89%, but now it's almost at 100%. The question is, what the hell is this power source charging up that they keep showing us? Anyway, Sabretooth then runs into the forest with Wolverine saying, "Running already?" Sabretooth answers, "Try to keep up, Stubby. Too many knuckleheads on the beach. Gotta even the odds. Now I've got you all to myself." As the two continue fighting, Sabretooth runs away yet again saying, "Almost there." As Wolverine tells himself, "Don't remember ever seeing this tunnel before." Once Wolverine catches up to Sabretooth, Sabretooth tells them, "Here we are, the Quiet Council, where it all began for me." Wolverine says, "You've been leading me here? That it?" He replies, "Smart boy. This is where I got dragged into the pit, but something funny happened while I was down there. I got real close with the island. With one part of it anyway. As soon as I touched down, I could feel the psychic connection, and it's strongest right here." Wolverine says, "I don't like this," as Sabretooth reveals he can control the pit now, using the vines to drag Wolverine down and take himself down safely as Wolverine screams, "Damn it," with Sabretooth replying, "Something like that." Now I also have to mention on this page we see the same battery almost completely powered at 97%. Meanwhile, back on top of the island, the X-Force finally takes down the Sentinels. We're immediately brought back to the pit where captains of Wolverine say it was meant to be his prison, but it became his playground and torture chamber. I am shucked like an oyster out of my armor. There's nothing left to protect me but me, as the pit rips off his adamantium armor. While in the pit, Sabretooth has Wolverine fight bad memories and suffering from his past in the shape of former friends and mutants. Then as Wolverine is forced to fight them, Sabretooth says, "Pain, pain, pain. That's the point of us, Logan. We chew on pain, we cause pain, we are pain. The world is worse off because of us, and I am worse off because of you. Everyone will be relieved if you die. So die already, runt," as he slashes Wolverine across the face with blood flying everywhere. But then vines hold back Sabretooth's arm as he goes to strike again with him saying, "The hell?" as they're both pulled out of the pit. Sabretooth says, "You're done." We then see X-Force and the Exiles waiting for Sabretooth with Phoebe Kaku saying, "No, Creed, you are." I persuaded Krakoa to sever your connection. It was like swatting a mosquito off my arm. You may have your own psychic defense, but Krakoa is more than willing to oblige in this case. You had an army, now you face one. As X-Force detains Sabretooth, Phoebe says, "You're going to die miserably and pathetically alone." But Wolverine stands up telling her, "Leave him be. This war is between the two of us." Wolverine's daughter says, "How are you still standing?" He replies, "Forge his armor. It wasn't just meant to protect me, it was meant to reactivate my mutant gene, bring my powers back." As we see, the battery they were showing us now throughout the issue was inside Wolverine's armor and is now at 100%, fully reactivating Logan's mutant gene, meaning he's got his powers and abilities back. This is actually crazy because this is the mystery invention of Forge's that was hinted at in X-Men issue 25. I gotta say, I was wondering how Wolverine was gonna get his powers back, and this was a pretty brilliant way. Anyway, with his powers back, he says, "Did you hear that, Creed? You're getting all of me and I'm getting all of you." As he jumps towards Sabretooth, Sabretooth says, "If it means I don't gotta hear your miserable runt voice again, I'd rather be dead." The two then start an epic battle that lasts several pages, and it is bloody. There's one page that gives us around 15 panels of them just slashing into each other. We see Wolverine slicing Sabretooth's arm off with his claws, and Sabretooth cutting Wolverine open from his shoulder to his waist. It is a gore fest. Wolverine eventually stabs Sabretooth in the stomach with his sword as Sabretooth says, "You just want me to end, but do you even exist without me? Who would you even be without all this hurt?" As he headbutts Wolverine. He then pulls the sword out of his stomach, but Wolverine gets back up and slashes his hand off, picking up the sword, pointing it towards Sabretooth, saying, "This is for my son. This is for my friends. This is for Krakoa. This is for your failure to know what to do with the pain inside you, except share it with others." As Wolverine slashes at Sabretooth over and over again. And then on the next page, we see Wolverine has chopped Sabretooth into pieces, dismembering him. He then stands over the body parts of Sabretooth victorious. Later on, we're taken to Phoebe and Quinton, who are still being kept alive at the Orcus tech that Sabretooth put him in. He says, "It's okay, Phoebe, it's time. There will be other lives than these," as she turns the device off, effectively ending his life. Captions from Wolverine then say, "Quinton was right. It was a time to come together and a time to say goodbye. We said so long to the exiles. They knew now they were part of the mutant family, but they wanted to explore another horizon. And now it was time to shove off from Krakoa. We may have taken out the batch of Sentinels, but Orcus made it clear. We'd never be at home here again. Here's the thing I've learned about happiness. I could be feeling good when I am at the bar slugging a few cold ones, but that feeling never goes far because I'm remembering all the pain going on in the world. A cruel world, a heart attack, a bomb blast. I used to think that made happiness impossible, but Krakoa taught me the reverse is true too. When I'm lost in a moment of despair or grief, I've got the wisdom of previous joy to fall back on." Creed never managed to find that range. He was always only in the red place. When I find myself there, when the blood and the pain come as they always come, I will remember that era of Krakoa when we were all together, as one of the happiest of my life. As he boards the jet with X-Force, leaving Krakoa, putting on his cowl. And just like that, we have the conclusion of the Sabretooth War. It was a really great story, action-packed, and I love how it showed the psychology of Sabretooth and Wolverine. Wolverine finally coming into his own, learning how to deal with his horrible past, learning how to channel his anger, and finding solace in his friends and family. So this was a really fun read, seeing Wolverine finally take out Sabretooth the way he did, dismembering him after what he did to his son, friends, and family. It was epic. But what do you guys think of this event, and what do you think is going to happen after this? Let us know in the comments. Other than that, we'll see you next time when I talk about all things comics.